Cap on Litter é um projeto europeu coordenado pela FCT Nova no valor de 1,6 milhões de euros e conta com 9 parceiros provenientes de 7 países. Os problemas relacionados com a poluição marítima são uma preocupação emergente da humanidade. A Nova responde com projetos para encontrar soluções com impacto nas populações costeiras.
O pescador é o primeiro visado nas consequências que o plástico marinho possa trazer nos ecossistemas marítimos e na influência que tem na reprodução do peixe. O peixe que é capturado no mar de forma selvagem já está contaminado com plástico e nós já o estamos a consumir.
Cap on Litter é um projeto europeu, um projeto que visa melhorar as políticas e as práticas de prevenção do lixo marinho, proveniente sobretudo das atividades turísticas, das atividades de recreio, das atividades costeiras. O Cap on Litter foca-se sobretudo nas questões relacionadas com os plásticos descartáveis, os plásticos de uso único. Os laboratórios da Faculdade de Ciência e Tecnologia e do Centro de Investigação Mare suportam um conjunto alargado de investigações relacionadas com a ecotoxicologia, o impacto dos microplásticos e dos nanoplásticos na vida humana, passando pelas questões relacionadas com a economia circular e terminando nas questões relacionadas com a política pública, a literacia e a educação.
Combater, limitar o plástico nos mares é fundamental. Não aqueles que nós produzimos localmente, e Almada tem uma frente marinha fundamental, enorme, vasta, que provavelmente das mais belas do país, mas também relativamente aos lixos que recebemos. O impacto deste projeto e de projetos desta natureza, que vem de alguma maneira intensificar ações que já estão a ser feitas, mas que têm que se levar mais longe, é justamente pelo menos diminuir drasticamente a produção de lixo que possa ir parar ao mar.
Nós tornamos um caso de estudo do Cap on Litter com as nossas medidas porque acho que ainda não há muitos restaurantes de praia que estão a tomar estas medidas. Eu lembrei-me de pôr no Facebook que quem apanhasse 1 quilo de lixo oferecíamos um morrito ou uma bebida. Então, e até teve alguma adesão, as pessoas iam, apanhavam lixo, nós pesávamos, dávamos as bebidas.
Este projeto vai ao encontro da estratégia do município, a estratégia ambiental. Tem 3 grandes objetivos: praia zero resíduos, eventos costeiros zero resíduos e também comunidades costeiras zero resíduos.
Como parceira do projeto Cap on Litter, permite-nos a nós, a associação, sensibilizar os pescadores para os malefícios do plástico que tem no espaço marinho e permite que eles tenham a consciência do lixo que apanham, trazê-lo para a terra.
O projeto Cap on Litter está a implementar campanhas de sensibilização que já produzem resultados nas populações da orla costeira no que respeita à redução do lixo, assim como sensibilização junto do poder local para a mudança de políticas ambientais. O Cap on Litter é um projeto europeu coordenado pela FCT Nova no valor de 1,6 milhões de euros e conta com 9 parceiros provenientes de 7 países. Os problemas relacionados com a poluição marítima são uma preocupação emergente da humanidade. A Nova responde com projetos para encontrar soluções com impacto nas populações costeiras.
O pescador é o primeiro visado nas consequências que o plástico marinho possa trazer nos ecossistemas marítimos e na influência que tem na reprodução do peixe. O peixe que é capturado no mar de forma selvagem já está contaminado com plástico e nós já o estamos a consumir.
O Cap on Litter é um projeto europeu, um projeto que visa melhorar as políticas e as práticas de prevenção do lixo marinho, proveniente sobretudo das atividades turísticas, das atividades de recreio, das atividades costeiras. O Cap on Litter foca-se sobretudo nas questões relacionadas com os plásticos descartáveis, os plásticos de uso único. Os laboratórios da Faculdade de Ciência e Tecnologia e do Centro de Investigação Mare suportam um conjunto alargado de investigações relacionadas com a ecotoxicologia, o impacto dos microplásticos e dos nanoplásticos na vida humana, passando pelas questões relacionadas com a economia circular e terminando nas questões relacionadas com a política pública, a literacia e a educação.
Combater, limitar o plástico nos mares é fundamental. Não aqueles que nós produzimos localmente, e a Almada tem uma frente marinha fundamental, enorme, vasta, provavelmente das mais belas do país, mas também relativamente aos lixos que recebemos. O impacto deste projeto e de projetos desta natureza que vem, de alguma maneira, intensificar ações que já estão a ser feitas, mas que têm que se levar mais longe, é justamente, pelo menos, diminuir drasticamente a produção de lixo que possa ir parar ao mar.
Nós tornámos um caso de estudo do Cap on Litter com as nossas medidas porque acho que ainda não há muitos restaurantes de praia que estão a tomar estas medidas. Eu lembrei-me de pôr no Facebook que quem apanhasse 1 kg de lixo oferecíamos um morrito ou uma bebida. Então, até teve alguma adesão, as pessoas iam, apanhavam lixo, nós pesávamos, dávamos as bebidas.
Este projeto vai ao encontro da estratégia do município, a estratégia ambiental. Tem 3 grandes objetivos: praia zero resíduos, eventos costeiros zero resíduos e também comunidades costeiras zero resíduos.
Okay, let's just wait for 1 minute for people to return. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. We hope lunch was good, and welcome to our first open session of the Utopia Week. This is the first of the 4 public sessions to be held during our Utopia Week in Lisbon, and the next roundtable will have the European Green Deal as its core theme. The European Green Deal is one of the 6 priorities of the European Commission for the period 2019-2024. And since climate change and environmental degradation are an existential threat to Europe and the world, the European Commission is trying to address and overcome these challenges, aiming at transforming the EU into a modern, resource-efficient, and competitive economy, ensuring 3 things. At first, no net emissions of greenhouse gases by 2050, economic growth decoupled from resource use, and no person and no place left behind, as we do in Utopia. So to discuss these priorities, we are pleased to host Professor Eva Pujadas. She is the Vice Rector of Social Commitment and Sustainability at the University of Pompeu Fabra, Tenured Professor of the Communication Department, and does as its role, she does qualitative research on discourse analysis, polytainment, and she's here in the quality of Vice Rector to this specific area. Professor João Pedro Gouveia from Nova School of Science and Technology. He holds a PhD in climate change and sustainable development policies focused on sustainable energy systems. And he is a PI at the Center for Environmental and Sustainability Research at Nova School of Science and Technology. Alexandre Silva is a student of the Integrated Master in Environmental Engineering, but he's also only 24, so welcome him as our student representative for this opening session. So today's Utopia contribution for a better Europe will start with João Pedro Gouveia hosting this session on behalf of Nova. Hope you enjoy this keynote session. Thank you.
Okay, so welcome, good afternoon everybody. as was mentioned, my name is João Pedro Gouveia, and I'll be talking about the European Green Deal, putting it in context at the global scale, and also showcasing our research in my team at the CENS, Center for Environmental and Sustainability Research, on energy poverty and buildings energy efficiency as I would say, good examples of on-the-ground policy support for Portuguese and European governments. So, what's good? Where should I? Okay, so putting this in context and why the European Green Deal is so relevant, and probably since you are here from the Utopia group, you're probably aware of this, but clearly what we have seen and shown on these three figures about the global population, about urban population growth, and also on gross domestic product evolution, we have during the last 50 years made more changes to our ecosystems and our planet than the sum of all human history. And this is also shown more specifically on a couple of figures and graphs below. So we are changing our ecosystems. The land use is changing, we are losing our tropical forests, we are changing also and increasing our water consumption on the destruction of rivers through large dams, or the water used for agriculture, industries, and our own consumption. But it's not only about water use, it's also about water quality. So we are using more and more fertilizers for agriculture, for food production. We are having nitrogen going into the oceans, so damaging our freshwater and saltwater systems. But then, looking specifically to the oceans, we have marine fishing growth. We have aquaculture increase and evolution as well, so to feed our global population, let's say. And of course, where also the Green Deal fits broadly is around climate change. So looking for all the graphs I've shown, we are increasing our energy use throughout the last 50 years almost exponentially. We are on another side losing the sequestration part, the natural sequestration of our ecosystems. And then of course, we have greenhouse gas emissions increase. So carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide coming from different sources. What's clear is that we are disrupting our entire planet. And specifically, and trying to link here more specifically to the aim of this session, harming the most vulnerable. So it's the most vulnerable in specific countries, let's say in Southeast Asia or Africa, of course, but also in our more developed countries' contexts. So are always the most vulnerable that are hit first by climate change, by heat waves, by extreme weather events, as we have seen throughout the globe. And clearly, we are also burdening future generations. So it's on this scope, of course, that the European Union brings the European Green Deal. As was mentioned, so the European Green Deal focuses on climate change and environmental degradation, trying to solve this problem as an existential threat of Europe, but also at the global scale, of course. And to overcome these challenges, the European Green Deal wants to transform the European Union into a modern, resource-efficient, and competitive economy. Probably my colleagues of the panel will dig deeper into specific areas on this one. But the objectives are three: no net emissions of greenhouse gases by 2050, economic growth decoupled from resource use, and more specifically, which I want to bring here, no person or no place is left behind. So just for you to have a broader idea of this, the European Green Deal, it focuses on 7 to 8 different topics. So of course, climate action is at the core of the transformation, but we have circular economy, we have sustainable mobility, we have sustainable industry, farm-to-fork strategy, looking into our food systems, but also and how we can implement solutions under sustainable finance or more oriented to biodiversity and nature restoration. But the two specific ones I want to bring and to link with my next slides is the part of the clean energy transition. So accelerating the integration of renewable energy in our cities, in our countries, but also this idea of a just transition. So ensuring a fair and inclusive transition towards a climate neutral economy, supporting regions, communities, neighborhoods that are more affected from the transition, but also looking into providing opportunities, new jobs, reskilling and upskilling the existing economic system. So this brings me to a concept that probably you are aware. If not, I will explain, which is called energy poverty. And now energy poverty is linked to the European Green Deal and to this action at the European level. So well over 34 million Europeans are affected by energy poverty because of three main reasons: energy efficiency or lack of energy efficiency of our homes and equipments, low income of the population, and energy markets and related energy prices. So this triangle is at the core of this problem that affects 34 to up 100 million Europeans on different spheres of the situation. So what exactly is energy poverty? So energy poverty as a concept, there is no regulatory definition coming from the European Commission. There is a suggestion, but it entails households or people that cannot afford to heat, to cool, or to have other energy services at their home at affordable costs. That's when, and that's where the European Green Deal also comes with different solutions. So how energy poverty is entailed into the European Green Deal? Through the Just Transition Fund, so a fund that wants to establish and provide financial assistance for energy efficiency upgrades of our homes, for example, of our equipments. But we have also the Social Fund for Europe, where we want to tackle different social challenges and have this idea of supporting social inclusion and combating poverty. And of course, as a key pillar of the Green Deal, fostering energy efficiency, which of course will promote buildings renovation for better energy performance and better use of our equipment in our homes. But also there are other three ideas under the Green Deal that will help for sure target energy poverty and reduce this immense problem at European scale. It's of course the integration of more and more renewable energy in our homes. It's also, and of course intertwined with the renewable energy adoption, is the development of energy communities, bringing most vulnerable people into the scheme. But, and cross-cutting throughout the Green Deal is this idea of the social dimension in a transition. So no one left behind, no place left behind, and bringing everybody into the discussion, not only as a at the end product of the transition, but involved deeply in the transition. So that said, by combining measures to improve energy efficiency, by integrating and promoting renewable energy, supporting social inclusion, the European Green Deal clearly wants a more equitable and sustainable energy system for all. So now I want to show you, showcase a bit our research at the Center for Environmental Research in my team on energy poverty, because I think it clearly highlights what universities can do to support the problem. Of course, first is around research, tools, and materials we can support the transition and the Green Deal. This is an example. So something we have developed, we have been developing since 2017, which is an innovative methodology and also as a result, which I call the Energy Poverty Vulnerability Index. We are able to map the Portuguese region, so 3,092 regions mapped to energy poverty vulnerability, both in winter and summer. So this, of course, as a critical part of research, but also trying to have social impact under the different areas of the country. Another example, looking to solutions. So it's not only about diagnosing a problem, but also we need to aim to find solutions. So we have been working on identifying retrofitting measures, what might be the cost at the global scale and at the global national scale of the cost of the transition. And for example, on this publication we have from last year, we identified that we need 72,000 million euros for renovating homes in Portugal. This is the scale of the challenge here. How we can do it? It's something we have been also addressing at different scales. Another example, it's how we interlink research between energy poverty and clearly how it's done in the Green Deal. So we look into climate change vulnerability of regions. We try to find solutions with citizens and working with them through one-stop shop advice points, which I'll show you a photo after. We are also addressing the problem of energy poverty and thermal comfort on high school and university students, for example, bringing transportation also into the discussion. So we are trying to build support also for the implementation of policies based on research. And then looking for public policy impact and support, both regional, national, and at European scale. So our research has supported the development of multiple adaptation strategies to climate change. So different locations in Portugal. We have also supported from our research the energy strategy of energy poverty at the country level. And we have been supporting local governments, municipalities throughout the country on energy poverty, on climate change vulnerability. So really trying to feed research into local and national public support. Another example are our connections with private entities. Here are a couple of projects we have been running with the public and private entities. And this, I think, is one of the most important slides, is the on-the-ground flagship projects we have running. So one is the main project, and Nova is are part of the coordination, is the EU Energy Poverty Advisory Hub, directly linked to the European Commission. So we are the research and knowledge arm of the Commission on energy poverty research. Then we have been also on the ground in Portugal. So we have a team in Nova supporting the Recovery and Resilience Plan funding energy efficiency funding schemes. All funding schemes pass through us, so we support this development of policies at the country level. And then we have two one-stop shops, so advice points for citizens. So bringing the university to the citizen. So not only at the European level on policies, but also on the ground. And we have these two projects on the left, which is called Transition Point, Ponto de Transição. We have a renovated maritime container on the streets, helping people on application of energy efficiency schemes, knowing more about their energy bills. We go on their homes to give advice. So this has been pretty successful in the last year and a half, and we are scaling this for other regions. And then the Green Menu, Menu Renovação Verde. It's an online platform where we have over 150 measures for citizens to know more about energy efficiency, what they can do, what are the regulations, what are the funding schemes available. And then all of this is a story, I would say, from policy, from research to policy, and then media and public impact. So our research have been, at Nova, have been on the forefront of this issue of energy poverty, both at the national level, as you can see in different newspapers here, but also in international level. So with pieces for Denmark, Finland, on TV, on different types of media, to showcase our research, but also the problem at national and European level. So raising awareness and trying to link this with European policies. So final slide. Just as a positive message and also an idea of this transition. So both addressing climate change, because of course it's the major problem we have at hands, but also energy poverty. I think it's like playing chess. So we need to consider all pieces, all stakeholders, all agents. Of course, as at university, will not solve the problem, none of those, but will help for sure, linking with NGOs, linking with private, public entities, and to see the multiple strategies that we can apply to solve both issues. But unlike chess, this is a final message, we must play this game, let's say, collaborative to win. So it's not a competition among people, it's a collaborative effort together to trying to solve both climate change and addressing energy poverty. Thank you. So now I'll give the floor to my colleague Eva.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I want to thank the organization for inviting me to this session. And what I'm going to talk is from my position now at Pompeu Fabra University, which is as a Vice Rector of Sustainability and Social Commitment. When I'm in this, developing this function, I've been now 3 months developing this session, and you know, I want to talk about my personal experience because I'm sure this is not something alien, but I think it's quite common to all the people that are dealing and thinking and working about sustainability. So the first thing I did when I started was meeting everyone that was connected to sustainability. And I have to tell you that in 2 months, I had 14 different meetings with different politicians, with different university units from different sessions and units from local government in Barcelona, from the Catalan Association of Public Universities, from the Spanish Association of Public and Private Universities, etc., etc., etc. I'm saying this because one of the most striking things I found was that there was many people thinking on the same issues, but without any connection between them. So each of them were kind of inventing the wheel every single time they had to find indicators to measure sustainability and to think about sustainability plans. So what I'm going to do here today is to explain to you how our university is dealing with sustainability and how we can bring all these incredible amount of protocols, of directives, of laws, of declarations, etc., about sustainability, how we can bring them down to earth to have something very specific to work about. So one of the things I did was to just have a short, brief look about academic articles. And just to tell you, I found something that was very interesting. That was from 2012 to 2016, there was a 15% increase in the number of sustainability programs in higher education. There was 872 institutions and sustainability-oriented programs in education and law and business and so forth. And the forecast was that by next year, we would have a growth of 9%. In Europe, there's 209 million of programs about sustainability. There's 38 million declarations about emergency declarations, and there is a declaration of climate emergency done by more than 2,000 local governments in 39 countries. So this is setting a very complex situation if you want to start understanding which is the starting point from which we can develop a proper sustainability policy. So which are the facts regarding all this huge puzzle? One, in my opinion, is, of course, we're facing a new economy. This is something we've been discussing in some of these working packages today. And this new economy is involving huge changes related to, as you know, cleaner energy, climate change, fresh air, clean water, biodiversity, efficiency in buildings, healthy and affordable food, etc., etc. A second thing that I'm finding interesting to take here is that all this is going to bring unemployment and requalification. And we need to create a fair transition in which new employments are going to be created, and not necessarily at the same time, not necessarily in the same place. So we are going to face some mismatches about all the people is going to lose their jobs and new people that will be developing new tasks in this new economy. I think third point is that there are three keys, in my opinion. That is, we need to consider social welfare and not only unemployment. We need to think and to apply this innovative thinking about what are we going to do with all the people that are going to lose their employments. We need to think about participation, civil participation, and requalifications. Fourth point to me, very relevant, is that universities, we are in the best positions. We are a global institution. We have the opportunity, but also the responsibility to act and to bring a step forward towards this new economy. In spite of our differences, our traditions, we are a community of knowledge. And we have a clear advantage that we have the students. And the students they are a bottom-up pushing force. And if we really believe in this bottom-up, we need to incorporate students within all these new challenges that we're facing. I'm going to tell you how we have done it. What we need. What we do not need in my opinion, is more declarations, more manifestos, more protocols. We have already learned that to legislate is not a guarantee of success. Sometimes I would say it's just the contrary. Some years ago, European Union stated something that we don't need to legislate more, we need to legislate better. Second thing that I would say we need is we need all these plans, at least some of them, to be applied, to be accountable, to be accomplished, and we need transparency. Third thing, yesterday it was mentioned the critical thinking, but very few of us notice that to have proper critical thinking, we need analytical thinking. That is, we need to reconsider all these protocols and plans and sessions and groups through a specific lens, in my opinion, connected to ethical commitment. We don't need more discussion about memorandums, but action plans and engagement with society and a coherent strategy. Which are some keys in this role that we have? To me, one is to understand that this change has to be global, and this is not an empty word, because nowadays decarbonization in Europe is done through delocalization. So if our indexes in greenhouse emissions are going down, in some cases are because we're taking our industries to third world countries. So if we do not understand that this change is global, we're just simply moving industries from one place to another. But emissions continue to warming our planet. Second thing regarding globalization, global to me does not mean globalized. What do I mean with this? I mean that we need to pay attention to the diversity of context. In Utopia, we have different universities that they have different placements. There are some universities within the cities, some universities that have campuses outside the cities. So, of course, we cannot apply the same indicators in all these different places. So we need to adjust all these different indicators to the particularity of each university. For us, sustainability, the way my university has interpreted sustainability is regarding environment, is regarding human beings, and is regarding biodiversity. I mean, ecology, economics, and social. It's not only about climate change, but it is about how climate change is affecting people. So we have some plans in my university. I haven't brought a PowerPoint here. I didn't know I could bring it, but you can connect it to UPF sustainability programs. And what I want to mention is that the way we have worked in our sustainability plan is that we have identified 10 different topics. I'm going to briefly mention them. It's climate change, energy, water supply, healthy and sustainable infrastructures, mobility, waste, food, investments, communication and sensibilization, and alliances with society. The way we have been working within these 10 different topics, we have identified, first we have done a diagnosis, how the university is concerning these 10 different topics, and we have identified different actions concerning how we can improve within these 10 different topics, and within this action we have identified responsibles, a calendar, and a budget. I'm mentioning this because I think that all these plans that we all have on the website, and they might be our context to work, if they do not have indicators and proper responsibility people, and they do not have specific actions, they are not going to be useful at all. They are just going to be wet paper or on the web. Within the Catalan public universities, and I will finish with this, you have all this information in a UPF sustainability plan. You have all our measures on sustainability, the carbon footprint. The last one that we have was 2018, and now we are preparing the next one, which is, we'll probably have it by this July, which is a carbon footprint from 2022, that was from last year, and within a group of the Catalan public universities, what we have done is to group all these different topics under 5 different areas that we are working exactly in the same way. That is, in each of these areas we have different actions, different responsibility, different calendars, and a budget. These actions are strategy and governance, education and teaching, research and transference, and social commitment with society and campus initiative. So within this, I could show you imagine an Excel program in which you had all these different topics, and for each topic you have all these different actions, different responsibility people, a different calendar, and a particular budget. What I mean with this, and I'm stressing this point, is that unless we don't have very specific actions connected to these goals, with these objectives, we're not going to be able to advance in sustainability and taking care for environment. And let me just add something, that for us, sustainability is also connected to people. We're not working under climate change, but within the Vice Rectorate that I'm working in, we are having all the plans connected to sustainable and healthy university, connected to mental health, connected to stress situation, all the actions preventing students from stress, and different actions that we are dealing with the Catalan government. And here it finishes my presentation. So thank you very much for your attention.
Of our 24-year-old student from the Integrated Master in Environmental Engineering, Alexandre Silva. Thank you very much.
The very nervous student, by the way. So, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you for the opportunity and the invite to be here. I believe I had the PowerPoint, but it's fine if it's not presented. Okay, good. So, hello everyone. My name is Alexandre Silva. I am a master's student at the School of Science and Technology of Nova University. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about the social and economic challenges associated with the Green Deal. Also mention some of the solutions that have already been put forward, and do it specifically using a circular economy perspective, because that's where I feel the most comfortable at. So first, it's this. Okay, so I'm going to mention briefly the goals, as it has already been underlined, some challenges, solutions, and final thoughts. Okay. Okay, so the goals have already been mentioned before in the previous presentations. The first one is no net greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. This goal has been enshrined in the European climate law. We also have to decouple economic growth from resource use, which pairs really well with the new circular economy action plan and the circular economy perspective, and to leave no person and no place behind, which is supported by the Social Climate Fund. This transformative initiative aims to unlock a sustainable future for current and future generations. This means a future where we have environmental prosperity, economic growth, equitatively distributed in an intergenerational context, which translates into basically the ability to satisfy our own needs without compromising the ability of future generations to satisfy their needs. But what are the challenges? Well, this transition, as it has been mentioned before, needs to be fair and just. We need everyone aboard the boat. And, however, that certainly begs for a lot of costs. We need to help organizations, private and public. We need to help consumers, households, specifically vulnerable citizens, as well as cities, municipalities, regions, and countries progress towards all of these objectives. This also begs for innovation. The current technologies, as the IPCC reports have been showing, aren't implemented or enough, or aren't good enough to reach the goals that we have put forward. So we need better technologies, greener ones, greener energy or implement it at a higher rate. We also need greener products, greener manufacturing process, and a more sustainable lifestyle, hopefully, as well. And also, we need to help citizens, vulnerable citizens. These are people that either find themselves in vulnerable territories. These are territories that depend highly on carbon-intensive industries. And we also need to help households with low incomes in this transition. We need to help all of these people not only reskill, but also upskill the workforce into the most sustainable version of themselves. So these are the challenges. What are the solutions? Okay, so according to the European Commission, a pledge to mobilize 1 trillion euros over the next decade in green investment has been done. This can be referred to as the European Green Deal Investment Plan, which is also referred to as the Sustainable Europe Investment Plan. And as any plan, it has also multiple programs. We have the InvestEU program, which leverages private and public funds, and is found under the InvestEU regulation. We also have the Just Transition Scheme, which provides additional investment for just transition territories, and it's complemented by the Just Transition Fund. These are, like I said, territories that highly depend on carbon-intensive industries that we need to help decarbonize. And to boost the private sector investment, we have the taxonomy regulation, which classifies green investments and thus boosts our innovation in this sector. So what are the benefits? Well, job creation is one of them. We need people, we need a workforce that helps, well, for starters, to understand all of this new regulation. We need to understand just exactly what is asked. We need engineers, we need economists, managers, data analysts, among multiple other people to interpret these new rules and also implement the necessary strategies and maintain them and communicate them. And so we are able to generate new jobs. It also creates stock market predictability. If we mobilize more investment towards greener technologies, greener companies, and so on and so forth, we understand that the stock value of those companies over the next years will also go up. So it creates predictability. And so if you're looking into making a medium to long-term investment, according to these studies, perhaps it would be a good bet. And also, one of the other benefits is innovation. Like I said before, the current technology or the current rate at what it is implemented, it's not good enough. And so we need better performance and a greener performance. However, we still don't know, or we know, but it's still not clear just how exactly that innovation can come forward and where exactly it can happen. And that's where the circular economy comes in. The circular economy has multiple definitions. However, the most accepted one is by Kircher et al. 2017. And they define or underline that it's basically a model that aims to replace the concept of end of life with circular economy-based strategies, including reducing, reusing, recycling, and recovering, to foster environmental prosperity, economic growth, equitatively distributed in an intergenerational context. This model can be implemented at 4 different levels. We have the nano, so materials, micro, in which we have consumers, so every single one of us can implement these strategies in our lifestyle, products, and also organizations, both private and public. We also have the meso level, which are eco-industrial parks, which basically translates into symbiotic relations between organizations, in which, for instance, the waste of company A feeds the resource needs for company B. And we have the macro level, in which we have municipalities, cities, regions, and also countries, and now continents, with a new circular economy action plan, which I'll mention in a second. First, I'd like to mention the 10R framework by Potting et al. 2017, which basically tells us just exactly how we can innovate. It mentions 10 strategies: refusing, rethinking, reducing, reusing, repairing, remanufacturing, refurbishing, which pairs really well with the energy poverty concept, and also repurposing, recycling, and recovering. So now we know how we can innovate. We just need to understand where. And that's where the new Circular Economy Action Plan comes in. It defines priorities according to the European Commission. We have, one of them is a program to eliminate plastic waste. Another one is how we can approach textiles. Also the waste generation in a general perspective. And also eco-labeling and implementing best environmental management practices and auditing. So now we also know where we can innovate, which means we basically have a roadmap for innovation that can guide us towards a more sustainable future. So I'll just leave this presentation with some final thoughts that summarize everything that I've said. The first one is that the European Green Deal has certainly very ambitious goals, coupled with social and economic challenges, but by adopting a circular economy perspective, we unlock, or this initiative unlocks, innovation, drives investment, creates jobs, and supports vulnerable citizens into a future where we can satisfy our needs without compromising the ability of future generations to satisfy their needs. And with that, I'd like to thank for your attention and make myself available for any question.
Thank you. Big thank you to our three panelists. So maybe we would proceed to 2 or 3 questions, or 1 or 2 questions, since I know that many of us have meetings upcoming. So is there any question from the audience that you would like to raise? Yes, Mike here. Oh, sorry, it's the other way around.
Thank you. My name is Pam Fredman. I'm in the Advisory Council for Utopia, and I'm a former rector, and I have been working quite a lot with sustainable questions as in the International Association of Universities. So I have a couple of questions, and the first one is, I haven't through this meeting heard the SDGs being mentioned and the Agenda 2030. Is that important anymore, or you don't discuss that? The second thing is the global perspective. If we look at the Green Deal for European, where are the global perspective? As you raised afterwards, we have a global responsibility for what we are doing, not transporting issues and problems somewhere else. And then, how do you look upon the necessity of university to provide educations, not just in the STEM areas, but also in areas of social science and humanities and the art areas? Not just
Okay.
1, 3 questions.
Maybe we would collect if there is any other question in the audience. If not, I think we are okay with those 3. So please hand out. I believe your question was raised mainly to any of you. Yeah.
I think we can both, the 3 of us, cover them. So around the SDGs, it's interesting because I usually have that slide, the first slide I present, but looking to the Utopia activity and so on, I think we should look beyond that already. So it's a challenge, of course, 2030, the SDGs, and of course what I presented and looking to not only climate change, but the EU Green Deal, it covers most of the 17 SDGs. I would say that here on this room we are covering especially the 17 on the partnerships. That's what we are trying to enable also with the Utopia Network. But clearly what I mentioned around energy poverty, it links to the number 1 of no poverty. It links to the causes and consequences of the problem, looking to well-being and health in our homes, and also looking to the SDG number 7 on solutions, so energy efficiency, renewable energy. So that's an example, clearly, which the others can make on different parts. So clearly Alexandra on circular economy and the resource materials and consumption. Then around the STEMs, not only focusing on that and trying to look beyond that. So clearly, and I can tell you that from an energy efficiency and energy poverty perspective, this is a multidimensional issue. That's why it's so challenging as well, and looking to the challenges of the Green Deal, like the different people that needs to be part of the system. As I mentioned on my final slide, the chess idea. Because we need social scientists, we need engineering. The transformation clearly is not only about technology. We hear a lot of technology. We hear electric vehicles, solar PV, hydrogen, that's on the forefront of most of the discussions. But clearly when we're talking about upskilling, transformation of our homes, homes renovation, for example, this is something that needs to be done at the local level with municipalities, with local companies that will enable the transformation. This is not only about 5, 6, 10 major players, but it's also about the transformation of our economic system. So that's what we should do. That's why it's relevant to look into local governments at multiple levels to address this issue. And then, as I try to bring in my couple first slides, this is a global problem, clearly. And Europe is only part of, a tiny part of the solution we have at hand. So we need to upscale this also, this idea of the Green Deal to other locations, and clearly Asia, South America and so on are critical places to trying to support the transformation.
I'm going to answer very briefly about that because, but I think that if you allow me the comparison, the goals for sustainable development are like human rights declaration. No one is going to be against them, but the challenge is how we bring these goals down to our own universities, to our own countries, to our own cities, to our own institutions, because otherwise they just blah, 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 and no action. So in our case, as universities, we have the advantage that we have the students, which are a pushing force, very, very important. So we, in our university, for instance, it is compulsory, I mentioned that in a working package that we had, it is compulsory for all the subjects that are being taught in the university to connect them to all these goals for sustainable development. That is, in marketing, in narrative, in semiotics, in engineering, you need to bring down all these goals to the specifics. We're not alone with this, but because we have students and we have governments who have to deal with this compulsory. And the second thing I want to stress, this idea that let's be very careful with globalization, because nowadays, I'm repeating this idea, but I really think we need to take it to have it very clearly. European decarbonization is being done by delocalization. That is, we're not working so much within our industries, we are bringing our industries in the so-called third world countries. So this is not the way to do it. Thank you.
I don't have that much to add, to be honest, but I believe that the SDG goal, the Sustainable Development Goals, target really well cities and municipalities and so on. However, sometimes it's harder for the consumer and the citizen to just understand exactly how they can act towards those. What can it be done at the individual level, and sometimes it can also feel a bit overwhelming. So perhaps also helping people understand just exactly what they can do to enable and foster this progress, this transition, and achieving the Sustainable Development Goals can also be a good step.
Okay, so any other questions? I think a coffee break is... Oh, is there any other question? Sorry. Of course.
So, good afternoon. My name is Bernardo Patarra, and I'm very happy to tell you that I'm a colleague of Alexandre, and I have a question for him. So it's a pretty universal question, so I would like to ask you, in your perspective, what are the biggest flaws of the European Green Deal? Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. The stakes have never been higher. I wouldn't say so much as flaws. I believe that the European Green Deal has multiple plans with multiple programs that narrow down where things need to act, and it certainly helps. For instance, one of them that I really enjoyed reading about was the Bauhaus program, which enables and wants to foster creativity and to harmonize nature, environment, and people, and even has prizes for people to win. It's really, really cool, in my opinion. So it has a lot of programs, it has a lot of plans. I believe that the biggest challenge, not so much as a flaw, but as a challenge, is just exactly how citizens and how companies can benefit from all of these programs and funds. Sometimes it can be a challenge, a lot of bureaucracy. Some people don't even know about it or hear about it way too late. So perhaps communicating those better would also help. This is perhaps a good way. There might be others that also help. But I believe that's not so much as a flaw, but as a challenge, which is a communication and reachability.
Can I just, very small, I know people are leaving for the meetings, but I was just wondering for the professor from Barcelona, because I really enjoyed listening that you have a very concrete action plan with very concrete actions. Can you tell us about one very positive and very successful action that happened in Pompeu Fabra, please?
For instance, one of them could seem silly, but for instance, regarding food waste, we had, no, let me talk about nature and bringing nature close to university. We had this plan, we involved some students that in their final degree work, they made a proposal to increase the green roofs in university. So we had all this planification that was coming from a student's initiative, and then we took it, and then we had this implementation. We have some vertical gardens, for instance. We have a urban campus. So this is why I was stressing the difference that it's not the same to do it in a university like Autónoma University of Barcelona, which has a campus outside the university. So to measure sustainability or to measure carbon greenhouses emissions, for instance, it cannot be the same. This is why I was stressing this difference. Another example, for instance, we had the students regarding food that I was starting to mention it. We had a commission of students that they were working on a green menu, and now all the different campuses have green menu and have no meat menus, for instance. So the idea, it can be from very specific and very detailed things, but to have the students engaged within these small specific actions. So. In this case, was a work that they did for the final, at the end of their career, after the fourth year of their grades, they have to do a final work, and one of them was connected to sustainability. So they bring this initiative to the rectorate, and if they have the whole plan, the economic plan, the budget, and all the different measures that should be taken, and some of them, we just take them and apply them. Whenever possible, of course.
Okay, thank you very much to all of our three intervenients. It was a very enlightening session on the practical side, in the good sense of the European Green Deal. Our keynote sessions will proceed throughout the week. Tomorrow we will host the session that was merged with the Promoting EU Way of Life. Under the name A Stronger Europe. We will have the presence of a former Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Portugal, Nuno Severiano Teixeira, who is also a very well-known person for our university, since he's our teacher, and he's pretty much involved in the institute, in the Portuguese Institute for International Relations. And then on Thursday with the session, An Economy That Works for People, by Pedro Brinca, that was merged with the Fit for the Digital Age. So we hope we can count on you for our next sessions. Just tell your colleagues, make them come here. And thank you very much for being here. And I think we can exchange contacts if that's of interest for you. We can put you in contact
with our three speakers. Thank you very much for being here and enjoy your afternoon.